Fire Eyes Media.
Honestly, the way CU Boulder has treated Megan's family during this whole ordeal is disgusting.
Welcome back for part 2 of our conversation about the suspicious death of Megan Trussell.
If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, stop listening to this right now and listen to part 1 first. Seriously. Go.
For those of you who have listened to part 1, here's a quick recap. 18-year-old Megan Piper Trussell was reported missing on February 12th, 2025, 3 days after she was last seen leaving her dorm on the University of Colorado Boulder campus. After days of searching the area where her phone last pinged, Megan's body was found on February 15th near a culvert that runs beneath Boulder Canyon Drive.
Megan was missing her right shoe, a platform sneaker, and was covered in creek sand and plant debris. Megan's parents were originally told that her only injury was a small scratch from a tree branch. However, after Megan's death was ruled a suicide and the autopsy report was released to the family, it told a different story.
Megan had abrasions all over her body, missing and broken teeth, and contusions on her skull. This is just a summary of her injuries. They're listed in more detail in part 1. There was also something else found during Megan's autopsy that we'll dive into during this episode.
So, let's get into it. I'm Gina.
And I'm Amber.
And this is Weird True Crime.
Okay, let's back up a bit. We got ahead of ourselves with the autopsy details that were released in May. Let's get back to February and the days after Megan was found.
So on February 18th, 3 days after Megan was found, the BCSO, Boulder County Sheriff's Office, announced that based on their investigation, they didn't believe there was a threat to the community. They did say they were interested in hearing from anyone who may have additional information about Megan's movements on February 9th or any other relevant information.
Megan's parents felt like the BCSO was already saying this was a suicide. They believed it was a case of confirmation bias, and the police did the bare minimum. They collected evidence, but not all of it, and didn't even test most of it. And the BCSO wasn't the only agency that made Joe and Vanessa feel like Megan's disappearance and death weren't being treated appropriately.
From what Joe and Vanessa shared, the university police didn't really go out of their way to help them when they got to campus on February 12th after they found out Megan was missing. Here's Joe talking about their experience that first day.
So on Wednesday, we realized something was wrong, and we hauled ass up to Boulder, and we met in Megan's dorm room, and Vanessa's looking at phone data already, or we're trying to figure out what's going on. A CUPD detective patrolman had been there, but he left, and then we were looking at each other like, what should we do? And I said, I guess we should go to the police station, because nobody invited us to the police station. Nobody told us we should go there. We just showed up there and said, hey, she's missing, what's going on? And they were like, oh, right, well, here, you can wait in this conference room. So it's not like anything, that nobody else initiated anything. We did all that ourselves on that first day in that state of shock. That first night, they said, Detective Ziz at CUPD said, her phone pinged in Longmont. I was like, Longmont? That's like completely the other direction. And he said, yeah, we might take a ride out there, see if we see anything. And I was like, you're not taking this seriously. You don't grab a car and take a ride. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, I was incensed, but we were in such a state of shock and a state of terror that, as we sit here talking to you now, we've got time behind us and we can discuss everything and we can kind of be ourselves. But on that night, I couldn't speak. I was just every atom in my body was just in a state of terror. We were not able to really to do anything. We were helpless. We were at their mercy, and they weren't taking us seriously. And I look back on that, and it's just, ugh, man, it's terrible.
That's ridiculous. Their daughter is missing, and they don't even guide them to the campus police station and shove them in a cold conference room when they get there.
Pretty much. Vanessa also shared that campus police continuously asked them about Megan's social media accounts and if anyone had checked them. Megan didn't use social media. Joe said that 7 or 8 different people came into the room saying they should look at social media, and they kept having to repeat that she didn't use it.
So not only was there poor communication with the family, the police weren't talking to each other either. Vanessa said they still constantly get asked about social media. So we're putting it on the record here. Megan didn't use social media, so please stop asking about it.
10 days after Megan was found, her parents got a call from the sheriff's office. Investigators told them that Megan's purse and phone were missing. This was the first time they'd received this knowledge. The sheriff's office shared photos of the missing items with the public, and Vanessa and her friends immediately started looking for the purse and phone themselves. Vanessa and her friends spent weeks walking the streets of Boulder, talking to people in the unhoused community, asking what they'd do if they found a phone. One person they spoke with mentioned selling it at an eco ATM, one of those kiosks that buy old electronics.
Vanessa filed a claim, and sure enough, Eco ATM found Megan's phone 2 days later. Vanessa informed the detectives, who then obtained the phone. It had been sold on March 2nd at a kiosk in a grocery store for $75 by a man named Elliot Befor. But by the time detectives got it, it had already been wiped clean. All the data was gone. This meant that any data that might have shed light on Megan's final movements or communications was also gone. It took several months for BCSO to track down Elliot for questioning.
The only information garnered from the phone was the records the FBI found from between February 12th and February 16th that showed several data sessions. Only 2 of the sessions included GPS data. One was on February 13th, northeast of Longmont, about 15 miles from Boulder. The other one was on the night of the 13th into the early hours of the 14th near the mouth of Boulder Canyon. While investigators were looking for Elliot Befor, they finally spoke with Harper's friend Ash, the one who had been spending so much time in the girls' dorm room. This conversation took place on April 8th, almost 2 months after Megan went missing. Ash told detectives that they didn't see Megan on February 9th, but met up with Harper at the dorm at 11:30 p.m. after her shift ended. Megan wasn't there, so Ash stayed the night in Megan's bed. The next morning, Megan still wasn't back, but Harper and Ash didn't think much of it and assumed she had probably stayed the night at her sister's apartment.
Ash told detectives they believed Megan's death was a suicide, that the argument with Harper, in combination with the breakup, may have pushed her over the edge. While Megan was probably upset over the situation, her family doesn't believe that she was suicidal or that she would have taken her life because of a guy.
Detectives learned that around this same time in April, Harper had been telling her coworkers that Megan, quote, took a lot of Adderall the night she disappeared and that she was always suicidal, end quote. But when the police asked her about these statements, Harper denied saying those things. She had only said Megan seemed depressed and that suicide was possible because her prescription was missing from their dorm that night.
Harper made several inconsistent comments to multiple outlets. Megan's family obtained her first interview with detectives, where she said she came back from work that night and found 4 empty Adderall bottles on the metal cart table where both girls stored their medications. According to Harper, she figured that Megan consolidated the pills into her newest bottles and took them with her to her sister's.
Megan's parents shared that she didn't throw away her old bottles. Hello, ADHD. There are ADHD prescriptions for 3 different people in my household. Do you know how often I throw the last couple of pills from one bottle into the new one? And do you also know how often I forget to throw away the empty bottles? More often than you would think.
That doesn't surprise me even a little bit.
No.
One more thing about Harper. She recently gave an interview to People magazine. During this interview, she stated she believed Megan took her own life. Why does this matter? Well, records show that she told investigators multiple times that she didn't think Megan would hurt herself. So either she lied to the police, which is a false statement and a crime, or she's lying to People magazine.
Let's go back to Megan's phone and the hunt for Elliot Befor. He was living in the same encampment near the culvert where Megan's body had been found. When the police finally found and interviewed him, he stated that he had never seen Megan and didn't know who she was.
He first said he found the phone on a trail. Then he changed his story and said someone named Travis gave it to him to sell because he had an ID. Police tracked Travis down. He's another unhoused man whose real name is Alexander Connor. Connor, or Travis as we'll refer to him, was actually in jail during the time that Megan went missing.
Travis told police that after he was released, sometime between February 13th and the 22nd, he returned to the encampment in Boulder Canyon to collect his belongings. He wasn't sure of the exact date, but this was when he found Megan's purse lying out in the open. According to Travis, he took the purse with him, stole the vape that was in it, and later left it on a bike trail off of Highway 36. He claimed to know nothing about the phone.
Well, detectives didn't believe him and felt like he was withholding information. They urged him to tell the truth because something bad had happened to the person who owned the purse. But he said he couldn't remember anything else. He provided a DNA sample and was released.
Elliot Befor, the man who sold Megan's phone, was arrested on May 14, 2025 and charged with theft and false declaration to a pawnbroker. He pleaded not guilty and guilty, respectively. His trial date is scheduled for February 10th and 11th, 2026. It doesn't look like detectives ever questioned Travis about why he lied and said he didn't find Megan's phone. And since they released him, there's a good chance they may never see him again.
Megan's purse was found next to a bike path on March 5th by a woman riding her bike near the 39.6 mile marker of Highway 36. This was miles away from where Megan's body was found, in a completely different direction. This area is southeast of campus, while the canyon is to the west.
The woman looked inside the purse, probably to find an ID, and found an empty bottle of Adderall with Megan's name on it. Her credit cards were still inside, but her earbuds, vape, and any cash she may have had were missing.
According to Vanessa, the woman who found the purse noted that investigators didn't spend much time inspecting the area where the purse was found. The clasp on the purse was torn, which was concerning because, after all, Vanessa had made that purse. The clasp was added using a specialized sewing machine to reinforce it. It was sturdy. Since it was torn, it meant someone would have had to use a lot of force.
I want to note here that Megan always wore her purse on the left side. And according to the autopsy report, the extent of her injuries occurred on the left side of her body. It's very possible that she got attacked by someone trying to take the purse, which resulted in some of the injuries she sustained.
Once the Boulder County Sheriff's Office had possession of the purse, they issued a news release stating they knew how it ended up along Highway 36 and claimed that the person who moved it had no contact with Megan. They also said the same thing about Elliot Befor, the guy who sold her phone. He had nothing to do with Megan's death.
But how do they know that? Do they have information they aren't sharing with the family? Or are they just making statements that fit their narrative? As we mentioned earlier, Megan's other shoe was never found. Her family honestly isn't sure if they ever even really looked for it, because while the reports say they were looking for the phone and the purse, they don't say anything about the shoe.
On March 10th, 2025, Vanessa and Joe met with the Boulder County Sheriff. He said, quote, "Based on the evidence I've seen, I don't believe a crime was committed," end quote. When asked to explain what happened with the phone, purse, and missing shoe, the sheriff responded, quote, "Sometimes weird things happen in investigation, and we may never find out why," end quote.
There are no words to describe how ridiculous it is that his response to how her phone ended up wiped clean and sold, her purse being found torn up miles away in the other direction, and her missing a shoe never been located is just, well, sometimes weird things happen. We don't know. Oh well.
Shrug.
The heck?
They didn't even try to investigate it further. 2 days later, on March 12th, the BCSO released a statement that while they were actively investigating Megan's death, they didn't believe foul play was suspected.
Let's fast forward to the beginning of May. Months have gone by, and Megan's parents are still asking for the results of the toxicology testing. They were told for weeks that the report wasn't ready, but then, coincidentally, the results were in on May 27th, the day after Memorial Day and after the spring semester for CU Boulder concluded.
On May 27th, the Boulder County Sheriff's Office released a statement concluding their investigation and ruling Megan's death a suicide. The Boulder County Coroner, Jeff Martin, stated, "The Office of the Boulder County Coroner, based on the examination and investigative findings available at this time, has issued an opinion that Megan Trussell died as the result of the toxic effects of amphetamine and exposure to cold environment, hypothermia, contributed to her death. It is a further opinion that the manner of death is suicide. Our opinion was based on several factors, including, but not limited to, toxicology results and the presence of undigested prescription medication found during the examination."
In the joint statement to the public, the BCSO included the following statement. "We have found no evidence to suggest that Megan was physically harmed or killed by another person." Okay, but explain all of her injuries, the torn clothing, the missing phone, purse, and shoe. She was wearing 3-inch platform sneakers and no winter coat. Explain to me why a young woman who is afraid of the dark would walk that far away from campus with no coat in 20-degree temperatures on an icy trail with one shoe to intentionally overdose on a low amount of Adderall.
It gets even more confusing and infuriating, though. Because on June 4th, a few days after Boulder County released its statement, they sat down with Joe and Vanessa to discuss their findings. In this meeting, they were told about a softball-size mass of undigested pill material in Megan's stomach and esophagus. This material included white spheres that appeared to come from time-release medication capsules. This is what led them to their suicide conclusion.
You ready for this? When Megan's parents asked BCSO what kind of pills were in this mass, they were told it had never been tested. It was tested for the standard 20 or so drugs that are included in a tox panel, prescriptions and street drugs, but it wasn't tested for anything else. Someone, please explain how investigators can determine that Megan took her own life if they don't even know what kind of pills she supposedly ingested. And how could she have died from an overdose she hadn't even digested yet?
Vanessa and Joe received the toxicology report after they met with the forensic pathologist on June 4th. You know, the report that wasn't ready until May 27th. But wouldn't you know it, the date on the report was March 8th, almost 3 months earlier. So had they just been sitting on it and waiting until the semester was over to share the results with Megan's family?
More than likely, yes. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. So let's get into what the report said. Toxicology showed amphetamine, which would match her Adderall prescription, but at a level of 1,900 nanograms per milliliter. That sounds high, but it's not necessarily fatal. The report noted that reported blood concentrations in amphetamine-related fatalities ranged from 500 to 41,000 nanograms per milliliter. That averages out to around 9,000 nanograms per milliliter.
So 1900 nanograms per milliliter is way below the mean fatal level. It's consistent with a large acute dose or chronic use, but not enough for an intentional overdose. But despite this, the coroner's office still ruled Megan's death a suicide. Needless to say, Vanessa and Joe were shocked. Aside from all of the evidence pointing to a struggle, Megan had no history of being suicidal. She loved college and seemed genuinely happy. The autopsy report itself even said as much, quote, "No previous suicidal ideations or attempts were known," end quote.
There is no way this mass was all Adderall. Megan had 2 prescriptions, one for Adderall XR, extended release, which she had been taking for several years, and one for Adderall IR, immediate release, a newer prescription she started taking later in the mornings if needed.
According to a Facebook update posted by Vanessa on July 28th, the toxicology report only showed Adderall XR in Megan's system, but it would have taken over 700 capsules to equal the kind of volume found, which just isn't plausible.
There are normally 30 pills in one prescription of Adderall, and Megan had 2 bottles max. I'm sure neither one of those was a brand new bottle, and anyone who's had to refill ADHD medication knows the pharmacy isn't about to give you 700 of them. It's preposterous.
When Vanessa asked what else could have been in Megan's stomach, the coroner informed her that they don't test for food or anything outside of toxicology. And they'll never know what was in the giant mass of unidentified material because they didn't preserve it. Here's Vanessa talking more about the pill material and their meeting with the forensic pathologist.
Somebody had told us along the way that it was an enormous amount of pill material, like softball size. And for whatever reason, we didn't put it together in our heads that we knew she didn't have 4 months worth of Adderall, right? Because there was a shortage for one thing. We were taking turns on calling. Actually, I had been calling to check pharmacies to find it for a while. And then I finally was back to school and I said, "Hey, Joe, you got to help me with this." And so he started calling, and you'd have to call around to different pharmacies until somebody had Adderall XR, 25 milligrams.
Sam's Club to the rescue. It's the last place I called, but their pharmacy had it. So anyway.
I've been in that situation as well, so I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and so that points to these people did no research on this medication whatsoever, right? And so, the pills themselves, the capsules, they might fill whatever. I don't even know how big that might be. I have a picture of something that big. And I'm like, wait a second. What are they talking about? So when we were in the meeting with the forensic pathologist, and she's basically saying that, or not basically, she did say that because of the amount of pill material found in her stomach and esophagus, she'd never in her 3,800 autopsies seen somebody who's taken that much of any kind of pill material, or amphetamine is what she said. And I was like, wait a second. It dawned on me, and I think Joe at the exact same moment, what are you talking about? There's no way that's Adderall. What else is it then? Because there's no other drug in toxicology, right? And so I was like, did you test that material? Do you know that's what was in her stomach and esophagus? And they all got nervous. You could see, because it's video, but we share the audio with people. But they all look at each other like, oh no. And they're like, no. I said, do you still have it? We have a sample. So it turns out that they saved 200 milliliters, that the overall size was 200 milliliters, which is actually about the size of a V8 can, which is a lot of something, right?
Yeah.
But it could also be a V8 or applesauce. I don't freaking know what it is. It's not a drug. We know that because it didn't show up on toxicology. So they didn't test it. And we were pretty pissed at that moment in the meeting. And we didn't demand it during the meeting. Joe demanded it in an email after the meeting, but the coroner, he was already planning to send it in. At the end of that meeting, he seemed contrite. He was like, we're not like the sheriff's office. We can change our decision, which I thought was a very interesting thing for him to say. Like, first of all, he doesn't have to say that, right? Like, he could have just let the meeting end and, the forensic pathologist could have defended herself, all the way to the end. But he said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we will admit if there's other evidence, if something comes out, we can change that. So that was when he shared the toxicology with us, right? Mm-hmm. So then they sent the toxicology, or they sent the sample. The other thing that I find not scientific is that they said that it was 150 milliliters of pill material and 50 milliliters of tan fluid. But it was consistent throughout. And I'm like, well, just the fact that it's separated into those two things is not consistent throughout, right? Mm-hmm. So in my mind, I'm picturing, okay, when you first dump like hot cocoa into like your water or milk or whatever it is, and even if you stir it, it settles, right? So where did they just take a skim? Like, how did they get this sample? Because they did not emulsify it like you're supposed to. They just, who knows where they took it? They might have taken it from the part that they thought had the most Adderall beads or the most consistently looking Adderall beads. So that's a flaw right there to me. Okay. But then they send it in and it comes back and it's 1.7 million nanograms per milliliter. That's 1.7 grams. Like,
milligrams.
The number milligrams. The reason they gave that number in that way is, to make it look like some ridiculous huge number, but it's freaking nanograms. It's misleading.
Also, there's an issue with the measurements. If they're saying it's a solid pill material, they should be measuring that in milligrams, not milliliters. Vanessa spoke with an independent forensic pathologist who told her that this mass should have been emulsified. After calculating the 150 milliliters into milligrams, less than 5% of the total 150 milliliters of pill material is Adderall.
Let's talk about the drug panel for a minute. There are the standard 20 or so drugs that are tested, but if the contents being tested fall outside of those drugs, they don't test for them. If another drug had popped up, they would have run a total tox screen, which tests for designer or novelty drugs.
Right. So this list of novelty drugs gets updated because, new drugs pop up all the time. But who knows how often it's updated? Vanessa shared that there's a street drug called Tranq, which is more commonly known as xylazine. It's a veterinary medication used as a sedative or a muscle relaxer. It's very popular among the unhoused community in Boulder. This zombie drug, as they call it, causes open sores on the body and is sometimes mixed with fentanyl. Vanessa described it as almost looking like their flesh is being eaten away. I looked up pictures and I don't recommend it.
Nope, I'm good.
No.
Vanessa and Joe spend a lot of time with the unhoused community in Boulder, handing out care bags with flyers and information about Megan. She said that she sees a lot of people with these injuries, and it's a side effect of this novel drug. This got her thinking about what other types of drugs could be out there that could have been used to subdue Megan, and how this could be one of them.
When Vanessa asked the coroner if this type of drug could have been in Megan's system, he said no, because nothing showed up on the toxicology report. But how do they know what all of the new drugs are? According to my research, xylazine isn't tested for in a standard tox screen or an extended one. Fentanyl usually is, though. Vanessa's concern is 100% valid. Do you know how similar xylazine looks to an extended-release Adderall tablet?
No, I don't.
Super close. Super close.
When you think about the extent of her injuries, the missing and broken teeth, and the bruising on her head, it's more plausible that someone attacked her and forced the pills down her throat. Her esophagus was filled with a mass of pills. How does that happen if someone is willingly swallowing them?
I don't think it does. Vanessa has been pushing the coroner for a quantification of the pill material for months. According to a Facebook post made by Vanessa, the toxicology shows that Megan's stomach contents were 93 to 95% something other than Adderall. and this something has never been identified. This is the same coroner who said he would change the manner of death with enough reason. They have plenty of reason. Unfortunately, since my conversation with Joe and Vanessa, the coroner has responded and said he will not do any additional analysis unless their family pays out of pocket for the testing.
According to Vanessa, they want to have it tested independently for substances outside the scope of standard panels. This includes synthetics, veterinary medications like xylazine, rare compounds, food, and even inert materials like glass, brick, concrete, or asphalt. Though, to Vanessa's point, it's only a small sample, so who's to say how thorough the testing can really be?
After Megan's death was ruled a suicide and the case was closed, her family obtained all of the investigative reports. Based on the reports, it's pretty clear that a thorough investigation was never done. Besides the pill material that wasn't tested, several other pieces of evidence were never tested as well.
There was blood found in the culvert near where Megan was found. It was never analyzed. Neither had her fingernail clippings nor any of the swabs, including the rape kit, that were taken during the autopsy. There wasn't a forensic analysis done on the injury patterns spread across Megan's body. The pathologist told detectives that her injuries were consistent with the terrain, but she didn't even go to the scene. How can someone say definitively that her injuries are consistent with the scene if they haven't actually been there themselves?
This really gets to me. It's the bare minimum amount of work that should be done. It's this person's job to determine how someone died, and they don't even go to the scene and take a look around. Joe shared with me that their new private investigator went to the location where Megan's body was found and immediately said, "There's no way Megan went there herself." Here's more from Vanessa and Joe about the terrain at the scene.
Yeah, he's
And then
very
called me.
motivated.
And yeah, called me and then was like, I am a grown man and this is scary. Like and he was right there. Like he said, this is just too scary for me to even, like, there's no way your daughter went in here.
That's like the closing argument for anybody who has any questions. If we have friends or people who are interested or whatever, and there's an opportunity to take them up to where she was found, all it takes is for somebody to get to that spot and be like, there is no way. There's no way. I mean, we got a 100% record on that. Any person who goes up there, and I feel like if the forensic pathologist had gone up there, which she didn't, that might have influenced her decision in a way, because once you get up there and you see the terrain and you see where she would have had to gone to get to where she was, no way, absolutely no way she did that.
There are just too many unanswered questions for the police to say it was a suicide definitively. Where's her other shoe? Whose gray pants were found under her body? How did Elliot B4 and Alexander Connor, aka Travis, end up with Megan's phone and purse? How did Megan make it to the 40-mile marker? Was her body there the whole time, or was it moved there later so the search teams would find her?
According to Joe and Vanessa, there was a lot of finger pointing between the campus police and the Boulder County Sheriff's Office. They kept blaming each other for the lack of progress or for holding back information. Vanessa posted on Facebook that the university made it clear at the beginning of the investigation that they weren't open to the possibility that a CU student, a vibrant, beautiful freshman, was murdered in their county on their watch.
Yeah, CU Boulder tried to distance itself from the case immediately. Something bad happening to one of their students so close to campus isn't a good look. Vanessa shared that when a reporter came to campus to interview the family, the school made them stand outside in front of a parking garage rather than inside with the CU logo behind them.
It gets worse. Vanessa shared with me that a family friend and her daughter, along with other friends, were hanging up missing person flyers on campus, and they were getting taken down because family tours for prospective students were happening around that time. Can't have families seeing anything about a missing student, can we?
Apparently not. CU Boulder also never put out an alert that she was missing. Joe shared that students who lived on Megan's floor had no idea about this for weeks. The staff was told on Friday, February 14th, but the students were never notified. What if another student on campus had seen her, spoken with her, or had some idea of where she might have been going?
Honestly, the way CU Boulder has treated Megan's family during this whole ordeal is disgusting. Joe provided more insight into how the college handled the situation and the lack of support they provided.
I called the dean of students on Friday and had like a quick meeting with them, and they said that the case did not meet the criteria for them to send out a warning or an alert of any kind. And I told
criteria?
them, and they had like a grid where they had to be missing and somebody had to report them, and it had to be in these circumstances, something. I don't remember, but I'm sure we could get it. And I told them, I said, I have entrusted you with the safety of both of my daughters, and you have failed. And you need to tell me what you're going to do to fix it. And not only did they not do anything, but they actually cut off email communications with both me and Vanessa, to the point after the dust had settled and we were trying to get help for our older daughter. We'd been in contact with the deputy dean of students, and Vanessa was sending emails about counseling time, about help with her classes, that kind of stuff, which they offered all of that initially. They did. But then they stopped responding. They would take 2 to 3 days to respond to an email because they were probably having their legal vet it, I would assume, and giving very bland, very canned responses. And then they just stopped responding, to the point where I sent an email and I said, I'm not asking you for anything other than, can you please just let us know that you're receiving our emails? Nothing. Got nothing back. And they offered no help to Lindsay, or they followed through on no help to Lindsay.
You know how long into the case the campus cut off communication? 2 weeks. Joe shared that Lindsay had a therapist on campus that she really liked, and then suddenly the campus reached out saying she had used all her allotted therapy time for the semester. This was after they told Joe and Vanessa she'd get unlimited hours. When Lindsay asked to transfer to this therapist's private practice, CU Boulder told the therapist that it was unethical, a conflict of interest.
So Lindsay had to find a new therapist, and then they completely cut off communication. The only condolences Joe and Vanessa received from CU Boulder were when they sent Megan's transcripts. That was it. Joe calls it a pathological need to protect the brand at any cost. He said all major universities probably pull from the same playbook in these situations, but that doesn't make it any better or less cruel. And people need to know that this is how the university you've entrusted with the safety of your child will respond if the unimaginable happens.
Joe also shared that he posted information about Megan in the CU Parents Facebook group, and it was deleted almost immediately. They had several friends posting the missing flyer along with other information in multiple CU Parents groups, and all of them were deleted.
It's pretty obvious that CU Boulder is trying to shove Megan's death and her family under the rug. Just an unfortunate case of a girl under emotional duress who chose to take her own life. Sure. But there's another issue at play here that could explain Boulder County's desire to paint this as a suicide. In 2024, the Sundance Film Festival announced it was looking for a new home for the 2-week festival. After months of narrowing it down to 3 finalists, guess who made the shortlist for the 2027 event? Boulder.
The Sundance Institute's process includes a request for information on locations, proposals, meetings, and, of course, site visits for the finalists. The process also includes a comprehensive evaluation of the finalists' infrastructure, ethos, and equity values, event capabilities, and how each finalist could sustainably serve and support the festival's community of independent artists and audiences. Each finalist has to demonstrate how they would welcome and continue to foster this diverse community and culture of independent creativity.
On March 27th, 2025, about a month and a half after Megan's death, it was announced that Boulder would be the new home for the Sundance Film Festival. In May of 2025, it was revealed that a coalition of multiple city organizations in Boulder, including the University of Colorado Boulder, offered Sundance $34 million in incentives over 10 years for the festival to relocate from Utah to Boulder. CU Boulder along with the Boulder Chamber, pledged around $300,000 annually in additional support. Between the city of Boulder and the state of Colorado, the total funding for the move is around $70 million.
The city of Boulder and CU Boulder had a lot of money riding behind the idea that Boulder is a safe area where college students don't get murdered. An 18-year-old girl's suspicious death doesn't look good when you're trying to get a globally renowned film festival to move to your city. Do we have proof that this is what happened? Of course not. But the timing raises questions. It sure does seem like the whole system was more focused on keeping Boulder's image squeaky clean than on finding out what really happened to Megan.
Joe and Vanessa are continuing their own investigation into Megan's death, along with their PI, family members, and friends. In early January, they walked the path Megan supposedly took the night she disappeared. Along this stretch of road, multiple campus security cameras could have recorded Megan if she walked along that route. According to Vanessa, none of this surveillance footage has been produced by the UCPD or the BCSO.
Instead, they're relying on the cell phone timing data, which is questionable, and a claim by the officers that they could physically walk the distance in a specific amount of time. However, Megan wasn't found with her phone and was obviously separated from it at some point. Using a phone that may have not even been with her to track her physical movements makes zero sense and is a serious problem.
If Megan did walk the route that they claim she did, she would appear on at least one of these cameras. And because they haven't been disclosed, the family has to submit a CORA request, meaning the Colorado Open Records Act, to try to gain access to the footage.
This, of course, costs even more money and takes time.
In a Facebook post on November 16th, Vanessa shared that to overturn the suicide ruling, Megan's family needs independent forensic experts to review the autopsy, toxicology, stomach contents, scene evidence, and investigative failures. Boulder County will not reconsider its ruling unless a scientifically supported, multi-expert consensus can be presented that shows the evidence does not support suicide.
The family is working to gather a team of nationally recognized experts who can independently evaluate Megan's case and issue formal written opinions. These experts and the testing are expensive. And as we said earlier, Boulder County is refusing to test the unidentified material found in Megan's stomach unless her family pays for it. If you want to help Megan's family in their fight for answers, please consider donating to Megan's Memorial Fund. We'll include a link to it in the show notes.
On January 7th, 2026, Vanessa and Joe submitted a request for statutory case review to the Colorado Department of Public Safety and the Office of the Liaison for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives. Under Colorado law, SB 22-150, if an Indigenous person's death was ruled a suicide or overdose under suspicious circumstances, the case mandates a review. This bill passed in 2022 and is so important because deaths involving Indigenous people are often treated differently, frequently rushed, misclassified, or not fully investigated. This bill forces additional review and accountability when a death doesn't clearly add up, instead of allowing cases to be quietly closed.
On January 8th, 2026, multiple Colorado state agencies, including the Division of Criminal Justice, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and the Office of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives met to determine which group would lead the review of Megan's death. It was decided that the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI, will examine the quality and integrity of the original death investigation. It's important to clarify that this is not a new investigation of Megan's death, and the case is not being reopened.
Right. This review will determine whether or not correct procedures were followed, if all evidence was preserved and tested, and if conclusions were supported by facts. Hopefully, this review will bring to light any and all missteps made by BCSO and help Megan's case get the investigation it deserves. Her family has also launched a petition demanding the case be reopened, and they're still collecting tips. There are multiple $1,000 rewards for credible information about what happened to Megan. If you have any information, you can call or text 678-636-9771 or email trusselltips@vigilante-pr.com, and we'll include all that information in the show notes. I know there are no words. Like,
no, I literally have no. I just keep going back to the no shoe, never found, completely clean sock, but she walked her ass there.
Yeah. In 3-inch platform sneakers. So she had one 3-inch platform on and her other foot was in just a sock on an icy terrain in the pitch black in an area that she didn't know where she was.
Yeah.
She didn't know that area.
No.
She had never been over there. It makes zero sense.
Make it make sense, please.
The thing that baffles me the most or really stands out to me is the fact that she would have had to have taken 700 Adderall pills.
Yeah. And it was found in her esophagus. Like, it hadn't
her
even made it.
esophagus and stomach were full.
Like,
but she OD'd on that?
Yeah. Clearly.
And the fact that they were like, oh, we didn't test the other stuff. I don't know.
No, they wanted it to go away as fast as possible.
Absolutely. And also, it's very fishy to me that they didn't see her for days, even though they were literally right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was found in the first spot she could have been in Boulder County instead of this. Like, what?
Okay. Convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Joe and Vanessa just want a fair and thorough investigation into their daughter's death, and they deserve that. Joe, the writer that he is, said it more eloquently than we can, so we're going to give him the last word today.
I want to give a big thank you to Joe and Vanessa for taking the time to speak with me. They are genuine, lovely people. Honestly, they seemed like the coolest parents, and Megan seemed like the coolest kid. And we really hope that they get the answers that they need, and we'll be in their corner the whole way.
That's been my problem since the beginning is with the Boulder County Sheriff is, they can say, okay, emotionally distressed, takes a bunch of pills, kills herself. I'm like, but you're not explaining the mechanics of it, like the practical or the realistic way that this could have happened. Explain that to me. And they never gave us a narrative. They've never been able to give us anything. So it's just an incomplete investigation, from the get-go. They lied to us about their intentions from the very beginning. They immediately decided it was a suicide. And we were told by Detective Robinson that we're following up on every lead and I'm going where the evidence takes me and all this suicide talk. No, I'm not doing that. And the very next day after we had this meeting with them, they put out a press release that said, no foul play is suspected. There is no danger to the community. So if I may rant for a second, if that's your oath is to protect the community and somebody is a CU student, a young lady is dead, how are you upholding your oath if you're not doing a thorough investigation? We have a right to that as citizens, as taxpayers, as all that stuff. So, the way it was explained to me is if your house is on fire, you have a right for a fire truck to pull up and put the fire out. If you lose someone in mysterious circumstances, you have the exact same right to a fair, unbiased, comprehensive investigation. And we got none of that.